Hey, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, no matter where in the world you are. Welcome to the Halas Hall Report. With us tonight, we have our producer extraordinaire, hailing from parts unknown in Illinois, Mike the Bear fan. Also with us tonight is Bear fan Dan, Anthony Stewart, and from CNG Podcast, CJ, the other member of the Southern Connection down here. Uh, Tonight, we're going to talk about the draft and a couple other news and notes about the Bears. Real quick, I'm going to start off, as some of you may have not seen, the Bears are not going to Germany. We have been moved off the Germany game. There's a little provision in these international games for the home team. Kansas City was the home team, and they decided they'd rather play Chicago and Kansas City because of the revenue that Bears fans bring to the city. Miami has been slated in replace of the Bears because, well, Miami fans don't travel to Kansas City like Bears fans do. And probably they hope the Miami Dolphin track and field team will be jet lagged, so they'll be a little slower and they might actually be able to cover Waddle and Hill. But who knows? That'll be a fun game. But we're off the Germany game due to that exception in the language of the contracting with the NFL and its teams with these games. So, real quick, is anyone upset? Bear fan Dan, you upset about this move?
No, not at all.
CJ?
I'm not upset because I don't have to get my ass up early to go cover the game.
That's true. We don't have to get up early in the morning for that one. How about you, Anthony?
Not at all, man. I'm like with CJ. I don't cover the game, but I wouldn't have gotten up to watch it at that time of morning. So I'm cool with it.
And I know Mike the Bear fan is going to be like CJ because Mike and I usually cover the games together. And
Well, I definitely cover in the game for sure. Just the thing is, we don't have to get up a little earlier just to do the Halas Hall report, pre-show. So that's a good thing there. But I personally would rather play Kansas City in Germany than in Kansas City. But I mean, other than that, I'm not mad about it.
Can't blame Kansas City, though, because Bears fans do travel. And if any of you have ever been to a Bears game, an away Bears game, you'll know. North Carolina, going to go see the Panthers play when I was at sports station at Fort Lee, Virginia, driving down was nothing but Bears cars. Going to see the Bears play in Miami a couple years back, nothing but Bears fans on the I-95 International Speedway going down to Miami. So we travel well. I know New Orleans is going to be a packed house of Bears fans this year. Atlanta always gets tons of Bears fans. We travel well. So it makes sense if you're the Kansas City Chiefs and you want that money because you're paying Patrick Mahomes, an arm, a leg, and your next door neighbor's cat. Yeah, you want to make that money while you can because the Dolphins, as good as they are, their fan base just doesn't want to travel to Kansas City, and can you blame them? So that was the first bit of news for today. We still haven't heard about Hard Knocks, I don't believe. I haven't seen anything drop. We are still in contention for Hard Knocks. We do make a compelling story. But there's some other teams in contention for Hard Knocks, too, that might make a compelling story. We will keep an eye out, as I'm sure you all will, and we may do a Spring Up Live if we do get the nod for that to talk about that. But right now, luckily, we're not on Hard Knocks on HBO.
Isn't it 83% the Jets since Rodgers went there?
Yeah, I think that they were before the Rodgers trade, everyone thought it would be Chicago because of the up-and-coming Fields and the trade for number one and all this good stuff. But I think you're right. With Aaron Rodgers going there and half the Green Bay Packers following them, it might be a more compelling story for them to tell than the Chicago Bears, which is great. We make the playoffs this year. We don't have to worry about it. So, that'd be a good thing. But I'd say odds makers are probably going with the Jets right now, which would be really interesting with Aaron because he's never had to do it before. So yeah, that's some quick news and notes about some things going in the league. But then, of course, our big thing, we didn't come back last week. We wanted to give everyone a little bit of time to let it digest and sink in the NFL draft. So we went in with the number one pick, which we traded away, of course, Carolina and the DJ Moore. And we ended up with the 10th pick after we traded 9. And we took Darnell Wright, who none of us took here on the show. I know I took Bijan, but we took a right tackle. And an interesting side note on that today was an article on Carter that came out as to why polls may have avoided him. He was flashing gang signs and wearing gang colors today, caught in the video. So I personally knew we weren't, kind of knew we weren't going to take Carter, so the trade back to get a fourth rounder next year, to me, was pretty slick by Poles. Adding a solid right tackle or guard, I thought that's the final piece for the starting lineup, I think, of the offensive line. So I liked it. I don't think many people saw it because Skoronski, or maybe T-Rex they call him, was still out there. But I thought it was a good draft pick. How about you, Dan?
I liked it. I mean, I wanted Skoronski, but then, hearing more about this guy and that got me, excited for him.
Anthony, what's your take on our first round pick?
You know what? I loved it. And the more film I watch on him, the more excited I get. This guy's a mauler, man. This guy's a mauler. He can get out. He's not that good at pass blocking, but run blocking, yeah. But he's a mauler. He's a mauler. And I love it. I love the pick. Yep.
CJ, how about you, brother? What do you think?
Yeah, I have to agree with Anthony. Then on top of that, I was very intrigued by what he said as far as Justin Fields protecting him and making sure nobody gets to him. If not, he's gonna meet him in the park, in the parking lot. So that was pretty fun and pretty funny to see. So I like the kid a lot.
Yeah, I love that comment. Mike, what do you think of the pick?
I personally loved it. I actually called the trade down before the season, or before the offseason even started. I personally wanted Paris Johnson, but we didn't get him. After looking at film, he dominated the top two defensive linemen in the draft. So I give credit to Poles. He's going to be the tackle for the next at least 5 years plus, depending on contracts and stuff like that, because it gets outrageous sometimes.
Yeah,
I asked Carter to add to the Carter thing. He's a great player on the field, but man, he makes terrible decisions off the field, and the kid's got to get right. If it's the people he's hanging out with or whatever the case may be, he's got a lot of potential. Don't waste it.
And Mike, that's probably exactly why Philly was a good place, because he's got a lot of former teammates there who can help him, or you could say hurt him. But I think most people think that him going to Philly was actually maybe even the best fit for him to actually have a career, in the NFL. So I like that none of us picked him. Ryan Poles is obviously operating on a different level than what most people are thinking, because when Poles took him, it wasn't like an oh my God, but it was like, oh, it's a good.
Me, CJ, and Dan wanted that tackle to protect Justin Fields. Not trying to take a dagger at you two on the left, but you guys wanted the running back, and we wanted the protection. But overall, I loved it for sure.
No, I'm not. And I'm just talking about the player. Everyone thought, Skoronski's there. Poles is all over that, and Poles bypassed Skoronski. So I love that how Poles is showing he knew who his guy was. He took the number one pick, traded down twice, and still got what he needed and what he wanted. So our second pick in the draft, we had to wait a little bit on that one, but our second pick was defensive line Dexter Gervin, a Florida Gator. So we should be remembering a certain celebration coming back to Soldier Field we haven't seen in a while. I like the pick. The guy inside is nasty, and that's what Eberflus likes. He likes to build from the inside out on his line. And look at his game film from Florida, and we got some value there. We'll probably see a lot of that gator mouth after some sacks this year. Which was Tommy Harris the last one to do it? I'm looking forward to that. Alex Brown, thank you. So Anthony, as soon as you corrected me on that one, it was Alex Brown. What do you think of this draft pick?
Man, you know what? I felt Poles reaching. I think it was a reach. I'm disappointed in that pick. He is. When I watch film on him, he reminds me of Robertson. We have him. We have him already on our team, and I think we should have went. I think Poles, and I say we. I think Poles should have went for that DN, man, because we have him. We have Dexter on the team already. You know what I mean? We have him and Robinson. I think he should have. I think Poles should have picked up a DN, man. Yep.
Okay, CJ, what are you thinking?
I mean, I wanted them to get a guy on the inside. Pretty much, that's what they needed. But I do agree with Anthony. I do still believe they should have got a DN at least in the second round. So, but the fact they got this kid, we just have to wait and see. But the only thing that I wanted the Bears to do is get a defensive end. But we have to wait and see what happens. But I have no issues with the pick. We just got to see what he does. Do training camp and then in preseason.
Yeah, Dan, how about you?
I gotta agree with them in that about the pick.
And Mike, we'll round it out with you on this pick. What'd you think of this pick overall?
I kind of agree with Anthony a little bit. I think we reached a little bit for him, but I trust in Poles. And to go back to the draft, I don't know if everybody remembers the draft on who they picked. Technically, me and CJ picked this guy, but it wasn't until the 4th round. He was technically 4th round caliber, but went in the 2nd. Poles sees something in this guy that we may not see. You know what I mean? When I do watch game film, he is a beast. He's a big dude, and he gets inside. Like, he's got some moves.
Yeah, and Mike, I think, like you and Anthony kind of want to see more of the edge, and even CJ to a degree. Eberflus likes to build from the inside. If you look at his defense when he was in Indianapolis, he was about building the interior inside line, and then you work on your edge guys. So for me, if I'm looking at Eberflus's way he likes to do defense, this pick makes complete sense. If I look at the old way that we're used to thinking about defense, then I'm more in line with you, Anthony. But for our philosophy or Eberflus's philosophy, the pick fits. And then we'll have to see how good he fits, but he fits. And then after this, we went on our 3rd pick. We went to a corner. Tyreek Stevenson, out of the U, another Florida guy, right? We stayed in Florida, got this guy out of the U. There we go. Got to throw up the U for Devin Hester. Some folks said this guy was an absolute steal for us at the position we drafted. And could be an immediate starter. The guy's lightning quick. We know that. We drafted a lot of speed in this draft. But Mike, what are you thinking about this pick?
I personally like it. I went and looked at his film too, and he's got some pop. He reminds me of Mike Brown back in the day. I love the way Mike Brown played. You know what I mean? He almost sacrificed his body. And I believe he's going to take the rotational spot away from Kendall Vildor. I don't think he played well last year, and Stevenson plays good on the inside, so it'd be good depending on what packages we do.
Hey, Mike, we don't say that name here anymore.
I'm just saying he's still on the team, man. We still playing. CJ, he's invoked the name of your favorite Bear of all time. What do you think of this draft pick?
I like him. I don't know if he's going to be a second DB or if he's going to be in the nickel, but I like the kid a lot. Like Mike said, he has a little pop. Reminds you a little bit of Mike Brown. He goes after the ball. So we'll definitely see what he's made of. But as far as that last guy that Mike mentioned that I don't like at all, he's out of here.
I'm telling you, he's getting cut in June, and it's only going to be, I think, 500,000 cap hit, and no problem. We'll take that dead cap.
Mike, he better get cut, because if he doesn't, I'm going to blame you.
I'm hoping he's getting cut. I said,
hey, y'all heard it first. If the person who shall not be named is still in the roster June 1st, we're all going to Mike's house to hunt him down. Dan, where are you on this pick, brother?
I liked it. I think it was a good pick. Watched some film on him and looked good. Excited to see him.
Anthony?
Hey, I loved it. I can see him. I don't know who referenced him to Mike Brown, but I see that. I watched film on him. This kid is a thumper. He is a thumper. You play him at nickel, you put him in the box. Oh my goodness, he's gonna bring the wood, and somebody's not gonna make that team. I'm not gonna mention names, but he's gonna beat I'm not gonna mention names, but this kid is definitely gonna get that spot. You know, especially with Eva Priest's defense, the way he likes to play. And like in Indy, it was go get him, go get him, go get him. This kid is gonna go get him and gonna lay the wood
Yeah,
and can cover and can cover. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So yeah, I
you know
love
who
that pick. I loved it. Yeah.
watching his film and how he hits, he reminds me of someone. I said it on main event on Monday. He reminds me of Sean Taylor. This kid, the way he hits, just is reminiscent of another Miami product, Sean Taylor. You know, a lot of folks don't seem to remember Sean Taylor because unfortunately his time on the planet and the league was short. But if you're wondering what I'm talking about, you don't know who Sean Taylor is, go watch some film. Google Sean Taylor from the Washington Redskins. The guy murdered people on the field the way he hit, and that's the way this kid, when I see him on film, just, oh my God, we got our own version of Sean Taylor. So yeah, so far we went all O-line, a little bit of defense. Then it came for our fourth pick. We made 3 picks that were pretty quick. So then after that, we went back to the D-line with Zach Pickens, South Carolina Gamecocks, who are still staying in the South. We haven't moved out of the South yet. CJ, what's your thinking on this pick?
He's another one, but I like him a little bit more than Dexter. I think as far as his run defense is very, very good. You know, as far as when he attacks the run. So I think if he plays that spot, like what is that, the nose tackle spot, I think that'll be a good spot for him. But I definitely like his run tackling defense. What I've seen on tape from him.
Yeah, he seems like another inside guy. Anthony, are you happy with that pick, or were you still looking for more edge?
That pick I am happy with because CJ hit it on the head. You put him at nose, and watching film, that's the right position for him. He will succeed if you put him at nose. You know, he likes, you can tell by watching the film that he likes being in the trenches. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's a good pick.
Dan, I know you were probably happy. Am I correct?
Yeah, I agree with them. I'm happy. I like the pick.
Yeah, Mike. It seems like he's really well. There we can see who on our panel had picked him and where they had. But Mike, it seems like he's Poles was really looking at interior defense with these first 2 picks. Does that kind of jive with what you were thinking?
Well, I personally think it's going to be a more rotational. I personally think it's going to be a lot of in and out. It's not going to be a lot of people that play 3 downs, you know, like most teams or like we're most doing. I think it's going to be a lot of rotation. You know what I mean? Because our defensive edges, personally, I'm not too happy with. You know, we got Robinson and Gibson. We need somebody else with that big threat. You know what I mean? Which I'll mention that later. But I think they got a good rotational for sure.
Yeah, and I think they're if you look at the linebacker additions this year in the free agency, we definitely put an emphasis on stopping the run, which seems to be the biggest weapon in the NFC North is the run game. So we put a big emphasis on that. So we went stuffed the run a little bit more, and then with our next pick, I think this was our first offensive, right? Yep. My boy. I'll talk about Roschon in a minute. We went with Roschon Johnson. Bijan went to Atlanta early in the draft, and we got the backup Roschon with this pick. So Dan, what do you think about picking up Roschon instead of Bijan?
All right. We'll get us another running back in there. And that,
Yeah, Mike, what do you think about Roschon?
I personally like it for sure. And what I've been seeing and hearing, he might be a spot to take over for the number 1 spot. That's what I've been seeing out there. I think he will. You know what I mean? I like Herbert and all for sure, but I mean, if this kid is what they say they are, and like you said, he backed up Bijan, and he still went pretty high for being a backup. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm going to give Woody some credit on this one. He actually picked it right on the button with the pick
Whoa.
Okay, Woody.
I will say,
Good thing he's not.
You picked him too, CJ, but it wasn't until the 8th.
Mm-hmm.
Well, speaking of CJ, you obviously liked this pick, even though you had him in the 8th, but you liked Roshan.
Yeah, I think he does a little bit of everything. I think that's why he got such a buzz around even now with the mini training camp. So I'm just waiting to see if he can, compete against Herbert. He definitely has a chance to take that #1 spot. So they're high on him, and we'll see what he does during training camp.
Yeah, for sure. Anthony, what do you think?
You know what? I hadn't. Be honest with you, I hadn't heard of the kid. I hadn't heard of him, but watching his tape, he's a downhill runner. I think he's got to be what he runs, like a 4.42 or something like that. He's not a speedster, but he is a thumper. He's a thumper. You know what I mean? So he can play between the tackles, and that much I like. I don't know if he'll take Herbert's position, but I do like the pick. I like the pick. I like the fact that we haven't had a thumper since, far as at a running back, since who? That would actually run through you. Cedric Benson, may he rest in peace. That would actually like run through you. You know what I'm saying? And not run away.
Sometimes we do think a little different because if I remember right, we're cutting Cody White here in fucking June 1st.
Yeah, so with Roshan, I don't look at. Yeah, he was Bijan's backup, but yet even being a backup produced great numbers in Texas. He still got heavy play in Texas, even with Bijan there. That speaks volumes to how much the coaching staff there valued him, and they knew they had a weapon. The other thing is we've seen countless times in the NFL where a backup to a guy who gets sometimes drafted a year before or whatever, and they maybe didn't have as illustrious as an NCAA career, comes in and destroys the NFL. And the other thing I like about Roshan, I saw an article 2-3 days ago about him. So they're at rookie minicamp. The running backs were in the room with the coaches. The meeting was over. Guys got up and left. Roshan stayed to ask a question. Then he noticed guys left water bottles. He cleaned up and tidied up the room to set the standard for the room. The kid's about standards. He's about quality. The coaches love him already. His leadership on the field, off the field's already taking effect with the rookies and the people that have already had in for that OTA, and you're already starting to see it. I agree with you, Mike. I think he is RB1 come week 1 because of his style, whereas Herbert will feed off of that style. Herbert needs something to feed off of. He doesn't create the food. He needs to feed off someone who's killed the whale. I think Roshan, being the thumper, like you say, Anthony, can kill the whale so that others may feed. I just love this kid's everything about. I've seen and heard about this kid. I think the Bears, that to me may have been to steal the entire draft, was picking up Roshan where we got him. And that might be saying a lot. It might be going a little overboard, but yeah, I think he's going to prove out to be that good for us. So after the Roshan pick, we then moved to wide receiver, which we have a pretty good room. We took a Cincinnati Bearcat and Tyler Scott. So, Dan, what do you think about Tyler Scott?
All right. I mean, maybe like a punt return or something. Use on special teams.
Yeah, Mike, I see you nodding your head up there. You agree with that? He's more of a special team or punt return guy?
Well, yeah, and I'd like to add a little bit more to it. He's like a Darnell Mooney, if you ask me. He's the same size, but I think he was a better route runner than Mooney, so we may not extend Mooney. That's my opinion. I don't know if everybody will agree with me, but if it pans out, he could take over for Mooney's spot. Because they want to actually spend the money that way, you know what I mean, on a receiver that really hasn't done a whole lot for, a year and a half?
Well, and Mike brings up a good point. We got Mooney, who's going to need a contract. We got Claypool's going to need a contract soon. So, CJ, you agree with what Mike is throwing down there?
Definitely, I agree with it because they brought this kid in to be a replacement for one of those two guys. I think it's either going to be Mooney or it's going to be Claypool. One of those guys, or maybe both, may not get resigned. So, you definitely got these young kids coming in. As far as Scott, you got to see what Jones is going to do. So, I think Scott has a good chance to pretty much to be a replacement. Maybe not this year, but the following year, I'll definitely say he may get it the following year.
I agree on the Jones things. I think it puts him more on his toes because literally he's our special teamer right now, and he started off shaky, but then he stepped it up a little bit. You know what I mean? But Tyler Scott is fast. He's actually faster than Mooney.
Anthony, what do you think? Yeah, Anthony, what do you think? Are you thinking that these guys are on it?
I love this pick. He can take the top off of defense. And what's the kid name? Saint, whose brother plays for the Lions. Saint
Brown.
We'll get to it.
Yeah. He'll take his spot. This kid is not just a special teamer. This kid can take the top off of defense. He has hands, and route running is impeccable. His route running is impeccable. So I don't see him as just a gunner on special team. I see him taking the top off of defense and letting Fields go back there and do what he did at Ohio State. That's drop back and drop them dimes.
He can still be that gunner, but it's going to be into the slot position, and nobody's going to be able to cover that speed in the slot.
Yeah. Well, and look, it gives us even more to play with in that wide receiving room, and I really like our wide receiving room. I mean, I think St. Brown needs an opportunity of redemption to shine. So I think he's actually a better receiver than we saw last year. I think after him, this kid fits in there into that fifth spot for this season, and because look, it's rotational. Like, we don't want to see Claypool and Moore out there every down, and Mooney. Like, they got to throw some different looks and rotational stuff in. And he's a burner. Fourth quarter, we can go with a speed package. Go with him and Mooney, and just have a burner pack. Go ahead and try to keep up with us, DBs. Now you really got set back, so now I can use Cole Kmet. So I think they can really set the tone, knowing that we have all this speed at our disposal, a la kind of like Miami does. So I think, for a later pick in the draft, where at this point in the draft, you're mostly, again, maybe some rotational practice squad guys. I think we might have gotten a guy who will stick on the roster. Then we went back in the draft, though, going to our next pick, and we're starting to get in the fifth round. We got another brother, another Lions brother. His brother plays for the Lions. So the Bears and the Lions have two sets of twins or two sets of brothers. So I think that might be a first in the NFL. But we picked Sewell up. Coming out of rookie camp, they were already saying he was okay. Minneapolis, look at that skull. Yeah. So unlike the Minnesota Vikings, we made picks in this draft, so we'll continue. At rookie camp, Sewell was tearing it up. Like, he was doing things that they're like, you should not be allowed to do that, but you're doing it. So I think, once again, we kind of got some value that people didn't see because, his brother's in the NFL, and he's a younger twin. He can't be this. So look at the school he plays for. I think Poles went out and got value. What do you think, Dan?
I like it. And then I was excited when we actually picked them up.
Yeah, Anthony, how about you? You like this pick?
I love it. I think you're looking at our starting Mike. Game 1. Yep.
Well, CJ, that was a bold prediction that Anthony made. Are you in agreement with that, or you think no, but still a good pick?
I love this kid, man. I seen the tape on him. He's right now my favorite player as far as what the Bears drafted. Besides Wright, he's my next favorite one. He goes after the ball. He has that Chicago toughness, that grit, getting after the ball, sticking guys, hitting guys. I love this kid.
Mike?
I agree with CJ and Anthony. Me and Dan actually picked the guy. But I personally think it's going to have Sanborn on his toes for that starting position. I personally don't think it's going to be week 1 because with Sanborn last year coming in for when we got rid of Roquan, he did an amazing job. The only thing he kind of lacks, I feel, is coverage.
Yeah.
And Mike, I can agree with that too, and I could see like we were talking with receivers some more rotational. I mean, look at our worst case scenario could be that Sanborn is now rotational and not starting, and we saw what he did last year when he came in. So and there's a good Lamar says convert Sewell to edge. He excels at getting after the quarterback, and that could be an option too. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, it's not like it's unheard of in the NFL to draft a guy as something as one and then make him 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or move guy. So it's not unheard of. And really, if you think about the way the Bears play, converting a linebacker to play the edge in this defense isn't unlike him going to a different scheme and still being a linebacker. So that's kind of a good comment. It'd be interesting to see how we utilize him. Look, so through the first 5 rounds of this draft, we're looking at a bunch of quality we've already got. A couple that could be starters right off the bat, maybe 2 or 3 or 4 of them. A couple that were like, okay, definite starter potential, and then we moved on, and I think we still kept getting good value. So our next pick after Sewell was Terrell Smith, another corner, and he's a mighty gopher. Honestly, I didn't know much about it. I've watched some film on him. Kind of liked what I saw. I think he's good for depth, at least. Good for special teams, at least. I think he's going to make the roster. I don't think he's a starter this year, but I think we'll see him, and it'll also help the guy who shall not be named be shown the door much quicker. Wouldn't you agree, CJ?
I definitely would agree. I think for right now, I think he'll be a good special teamer. I don't think he's going to be as far as a rotational piece. I doubt it, but anything could happen. But I like the kid. He got speed. That's what Poe's been getting: speed. So he's another DB with some speed, and definitely I think the special teams would be a spot for him to start the regular season.
Yeah, Anthony, you'd think that the way Ryan Poles drafted, we had just played Miami Dolphins the day before because we went out to try to draft the track team, right? So what do you think about our latest track star edition?
Personally, I'm talking about this was a reach. After watching this kid, this was a reach. I see him, if he makes the team, he definitely practice squad. He's definitely practice squad because his technique and his hips are not smooth, not coming out of the break. This kid needs work. This is a reach.
Dan, where are you at on this?
Probably special teams. If not, as Anthony said, maybe practice squad.
Mike, are we gonna send this kid to the practice squad, or do you think he's gonna even make the roster?
Man, I'm kind of on the fence with Anthony, but I think he makes the roster just for the fact there's one person that we won't mention, I guess, because I guess you guys, all your faces dropped when I said his name the first time, but I think he makes it. It'll be probably more on special teams for sure. Kickoff, punt.
Yeah, and look, this is the part of the draft too where you're kind of like, I don't think anything in round 6, 7 is a reach because it's round 6 and 7. So anyone you're going to get in these last 2 rounds could be a practice squad guy, or you can find a gem because our gem's found late. But when we get to round 6 and 7, I hate the word reach because let's face it, honestly, 80 to 90% of round 6 and 7 don't make teams anyways.
Well, the thing is, we just named our 5th rounder. We did not have a 6th rounder, so there is nothing we talk about.
That's true. But we do have a 7th rounder.
Couple.
And I think we got a couple. So, we got another quarterback. Travis Bell, I really don't have much on him. When I saw the pick, I was like,
hey,
okay.
He's not a cornerback. That's my mess up. He's a defensive lineman. My bad.
Oh, is he D-line? Okay, I thought so. I thought that was
– my bad.
So, even though at this point he's more, if he works out, great. If not, practice squad is where you go. And Anthony, is that kind of where you're thinking, or are you thinking this kid's got more pop?
I'm thinking I'm going back to what I forgot. I think it was CJ was talking about the rotation. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Using them in a rotation because when you look at the picks, all those D tackles, they like 315, 330, 320.
They're all big boys.
That's rotation right there. Keep everybody fresh. you know. But my main question, I just want to throw this out there because I didn't hear anything about the rookie camp. Who stepped up? I'm talking about like on the defensive side of the ball. Who led? Does anybody know?
Well,
Who stood out? That's what I'm trying to say.
Into that. Yeah, we can get into that after we cover the draft. Let's finish the draft before we start talking about camp. Dan, what do you think about this pick?
All right. I mean, about all I can say. All right.
See, yeah, no, I get you. CJ, same thing. Just like a thumbs up. Yeah, okay, it might work.
I don't know because I looked at him and nothing really impressed me. But okay, yeah, he got a little size to him, but nothing really like stood out to me as far as technique. Does he have power? I think he's maybe 3-4 years away as far as being maybe something good, but I think he got a long way to go.
For one, did you guys actually watch film on him for real? Because the only film I could watch was high school film that was like on the sideline. I could not get a good view, so I couldn't see technique. Yeah. I couldn't see any of that. And I actually
I don't know which film it was, but it wasn't nothing. It wasn't much.
I'm telling you, I searched for his film because I like to do hype videos and stuff.
Well,
found almost absolutely nothing except for a couple videos, like I said, and it wasn't many at all. And you know how many players actually got drafted in the NFL from his college? Does anybody know?
What college was it?
No.
What is it, Kennesaw State or something?
I'll look it up. It was, I don't know how.
Yeah, something like that. It's one of those schools, but you know what?
The first player from his school to get drafted in the NFL.
So you know what that tells me, though, Mike, right? And probably should tell all of us. The Bears had a scout at some game or at some event, something, and saw him. And from what they saw in person and what they talked to him in person was enough to take him with a pick. And that's when we get these back picks, because there were a lot of picks when we got towards 5, 6, and 7 in those rounds where the NFL Network was like, we don't got film on this guy for some reason. Or the film was way old. So, I mean, now we're in that part of the draft where your scout team is really the guy delivering you that Scottie Pippen type player that you've never heard of from this college that no one it puts on their number 1 to go to list, right? It's maybe your 5th, and Kennesaw State. I mean, I've heard of Kennesaw State. I don't know anyone who plays football who'd make Kennesaw State their number 1 destination, but obviously, polls sent someone down there and they caught a whiff of something. So that's what we get with these picks, and I think we might see that with some of these other picks, because after we took him, this next pick I think was Kendall Williams. Now he was from Stanford, and the last guy before Mr. Irrelevant at that, correct? Yeah. So, he's, a safety, the only one we took in the draft by position safety because of corners we can convert. He was Mr. Irrelevant. I don't expect anything out of this kid. If he makes the roster, great. If he makes the practice squad, that's probably where most of the professionals who got everything wrong on draft night have this guy pegged. So, I don't know. Has anyone got anything on this kid from Stanford before we move on?
I like him. From what
I like him because he's a Bear.
Well, obviously
that and he's smart.
He is.
I like him.
We're saying that we need a backup for Eddie Jackson.
I was saying
over, but he's definitely probably going to make the squad, and he's more than likely going to be the backup. Because
I was thinking E-Jack is gone, man.
I don't think he is.
I don't think E-Jack's gone, but E-Jack may be gone later because of money.
It's not because of him. No, not because of him.
It'll be money.
Because it's time.
But the time would be money, and it's not going to be this year. He's not going to be a cap casualty. And he's not going to be a cap casualty next year with us having $100 million in the bank to play with next year. So we had the draft. We got some kids like that, and then we went and signed a bunch of rookies on draft. We got a kicker from Syracuse, which was interesting. We got a quarterback who a lot of people said was one of the smarter quarterbacks in the draft. So I think that could be interesting. And then we went out a day or two later and got a kid from the European Combine who just looks like a physical freak. But but interesting enough, did not play American football to much recently. So we picked up some. Those guys are going to be fun to watch as camp goes. Some of these undrafted, especially after Sanborn. Everyone's watching our undrafted free agent signings now after Sanborn last year. So after the draft, we went out and picked up. I think we signed a total of 10 to 15 guys. I lost track of the number. Immediately after drafting, it was about 5, and then we've had a couple others that have been picking and choosing. I equate most of those guys with like the kid we took from Stanford. Because that kid from Stanford could have been an undrafted signed free agent rookie, right? That late stage in the draft. So I think all those guys are guys that you hope will have an impact, practice squad, special team, or fill some special need where you need some depth. And that's how our draft went. So the big question would be this, though. Anthony, what do you grade Ryan Poles on his first draft for the Bears with a number 1 draft pick, with a first-round draft pick, I should say?
B plus.
How about you, Dan? Dan, what's your grade?
A minus, B plus.
Okay, CJ.
All right, guys. I'm gonna say this pick it, then I gotta make a run for it. But it's I'm sorry, just grade down, make a run for it. I'm gonna give him a solid B.
Solid B. And CJ, before you run, why don't you drop to let everyone know when they can see P&G.
Yeah, please. Because I was gonna ask you that.
Yeah, well, the CNG podcast, you guys can catch us on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitter. Right now, we're going to take a little small break to try to get some more things coming, but we do got a show coming up within the next couple of weeks, probably right around maybe training camp or so. So we're just preparing for that and just in the lab, pretty much just getting all the information that we can. But check us out on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter at the CNG podcast, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, definitely go out, give them some likes and some follows, and we do a lot of things with the guys at CNGs. In fact, their whole crew is in Halas Hall Report, one way form or the other usually. So go check them out. Always some good takes. And they don't just cover Bears football. They cover these guys a little bit, but mostly the Bulls. You might even get a little baseball once in a blue moon thrown in there, but it's mostly football and Bulls basketball. I'm sure there might be some discussion about another Chicago team getting a number 1 pick in the draft. Possibly, I don't know, but go check out.
They actually got the number 1 pick. They actually got it.
Yes, they did.
Go Blackhawks.
So definitely go Blackhawks. Go check out CJ and the crew over at CNG, and definitely see what they're all about. Moving back to grades, so Mike, what was your grade?
I'm gonna say overall a solid A, just for the fact that we traded twice to get more value for just 1 pick. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I
look at the overall.
No, I agree with you 100%, Mike. When I look at the draft, people just say, well, what do they do in those 3 days of draft? I'm like, but that's not just it. I look at the draft as what you drafted plus the trades you made that affected the draft. So I also include in our draft Claypool, because he was the 32nd pick overall as far as we're concerned. And I add DJ Moore because he was part of the first round, the number 1 pick package. So when I add Claypool and DJ Moore to the mix, a bona fide number 1 who's the top 10 receiver in the league, and Claypool is a very high ceiling. And if you watch the tape when he played with Big Ben before, his first year with Big Ben, made some phenomenal plays out there. I can't give the Bears anything less than an A. The phenomenal job, I thought, from Poles. I think not only on draft weekend did he nab 3 to 5 possible starters, immediate impact starters that are going to be starters in the first 2 to 3 weeks of the season, but he nabbed 2 starting wide receivers, to include a bona fide number 1. That's an A in anyone's book. Now if I'm looking just off the picks, I give him a B plus, A minus. I'm more like Dan there. B plus, A minus, because there are a couple question marks we need to figure. So we have the draft. We signed some free agents, but believe it or not, we have a crap ton of money we still need to spend. And the way the NFL does contracts, that could be 2 or 3 more players. We have no choice but to spend $15 million more to get within the NFLPA and NFL cap regulations of how much of the cap you have to spend. So Chase Young, that would have to come via trade, correct?
Yes.
Um, yep. And then Yannick, who Mike loves Yannick. And then you got a guy out there like Clowney, who I think would be a reach because he doesn't fit the mold. Because if you notice, all our guys we're signing are 26 or younger. But we have to spend some money. Now, I would, in a trade with Washington, be interesting. We have to give up some capital that we might not want to. But Yannick, we're not giving up anything. It's just a matter of money. But throw that back up there again, Mike, real quick, so we can take a look at the ages. But Chase Young, now I know some of you aren't going to like Chase Young because he had an injury last year, was outlaw of the year, 24 years old, and man, is this kid a game wrecker? But Mike, what do you think it takes to get a Chase Young in here?
I don't think it'd be a lot, but I think it'd be probably probably a third. Because if I'm not mistaken, he's only got one more year on his contract, his rookie contract, right?
It's his rookie deal. Yep.
Yeah.
So I mean, it wouldn't be no more than a third. That'd be my opinion. And
what about you?
On it only if that leg's okay. As long as he can pass the physical and he says he's good to go, he's clear to play. Yeah, he's 24 years old and he's a game wrecker for sure. Just the question is, can he stay healthy? That's the thing.
Dan, what do you think? You think we pull something like this year, or do we wait till next year's free agency?
I think with this year, I think probably go. I wouldn't mind seeing Chase Young or Yannick. I mean, Chase Young is 24 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Yannick is 26.
28 or something, 26.
28. He just
28.
turned 28.
So he's on the old side of what Foles is doing.
But really, from Eberflus, he already knows the system. You know what I'm saying? He played real well in Indy last year. The only thing I don't like about it is he's like $14.5 million. If you want to take around 10 or a little under, I'm down.
How about you, Anthony?
You know what? Let me preface this by saying I like Chase Young, but I wouldn't go for him because he hasn't had a healthy season since he's been in the league. I love Yannick. I love the thought of us getting Yannick for 1 or 2 years, because the Bears need some veteran presence in that locker room, especially on that defensive side of the ball. So I would go with Yannick. Because he knows the system and he's a veteran. He can show some leadership to those young guys up there. 2 years, 1 or 2 years. That's it.
He's guaranteed the starters. I just feel like we're weak at the edges. The defensive end rush is weak, in my opinion. I just don't feel confident with him.
I mean, I could see Yannick, and Chase Young is an absolute game wrecker if healthy, but for me, that's a hard one. But if you give up, let's say, the 4th rounder you got from the Eagles to get him, then okay, we didn't get Carter. We got you Chase Young instead. I mean, and that would seem like something like Foles would do. He's a young kid, high motor. I mean, but Washington loves him, so I don't think we get him for a 4th rounder. And then we've got the money on 5th-year options, but Foles is good with the money, so he's already look at Foles is playing 3D chess while we all play chess and checkers, right? So he already knows the money 5 years out, or what he wants to do. But Yannick, I could see is a 2-year with maybe an option for year 3 or 4, depending, because just because he's going to be 30 doesn't mean he's done, right? So something that's a little more club friendly. We got to spend money. I don't see us spending money offensively anymore. I think if we spend money, it's defense. I mean, all the big tackles are gone. I mean, maybe some backup pieces, but nothing impact.
We got our offense set. You know what I mean? For sure. I don't know if you guys seen the depth chart or whatnot, but Jenkins is going to move over to left guard. That's what I've been seeing. That's what I've been hearing in the media. So you got Braxton Jones and Wright on the tackles, which is a good, solid tackle. You know what I mean? Then you got Jenkins and Davis for your guards, which isn't bad at all. It'd be 215 ranked offensive linemen on the team, and then Cody Whitehair, where he was a Pro Bowler at center. If they can protect Justin Fields, we're going to have a blow-up offense. I feel like our defense is a little weak, so I just think we could almost score 30 points a game as long as they gel together.
Well, we were doing that last year towards the end. We were putting up 30 a game. Unfortunately, we're giving up 40. What's the defense look like? You have the defensive roster, Mike?
Yeah, it definitely improved. And on both sides of the ball, we had 4 starters or 4 different players on each side of the ball. So we definitely improved with, Edmonds and Edwards definitely improved. Walker it's a 50-50 for me. You know what I mean? I just don't think he's a starter, good rotational. That's why I think we do a lot of rotational, a lot of moving on the line. You're not going to see very many people play 3 to 5 downs. It's going to be switching.
I'll tell you what, I'm liking our linebacking core, though, compared to last year. What a difference this year's going to make. I think that's when we see the biggest impact is right there in the line. And look, people are going to argue, well, Sewell's not going to be the middle. He might be, he might make Sanborn ride the pine kind of thing. There's going to be some play, but looking at you can just see the improvement already just in the linebacking core. The back end with Johnson, Brisker, Jackson, and Gordon, it was already good. And then you add Tyreek Stevenson.
I mean, look at our edges, Gibson and Walker. That's not. I mean, if we can get a Yannick, oh my God, I think Gibson's going to be sitting. You know what I mean? That's my.
Yeah, that's the thing with Robinson and Gibson. They both had flashes when they had someone on the other side of them that was good. I think you're right. If you need like a Yannick on one side and then Gibson on the other side, could be an answer. It's kind of like when Khalil Mack was in town. Certain guys were really good. When Khalil Mack left, all of a sudden they couldn't find the quarterback to save their life because the defense could. They're the kind of guys that need help. I agree with you, Mike. I think they need some help there. Okay, this is where I know Mike wants to talk about place kicking. And how we're going to save some money there because we need to save money in Chicago. There you go. There you go.
I love Gold, and if you go look at all Gold stats, he's pretty much number 1 across the board in Chicago. And he was literally a walk-on when they had open tryouts. He was actually a construction worker. So, and Andy says, I will come back. Pretty much telling polls, call me.
So, I mean, for those who don't know, Robbie Gold lives in Chicago still to this day. He's a season ticket holder for the number 1 draft pick holding Blackhawks. He goes to Cubs and Sox games regularly. He's a Chicago guy. Dan, would you be against cutting Santos and re-signing Robbie? Yeah, I see a no there. He's not against that.
Good as gold.
Robbie Gold has to have that in his career. Just saying.
And Anthony, what about you?
Man, I cut Santos in a heartbeat to get Good as Gold back. In a heartbeat. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what's interesting too is so San Francisco drafted a kicker early, 3rd round. The kid Mooney, the kid out of Michigan. Moody, out of Michigan. So obviously he's not going back to San Fran. But here's the thing: if you look at Robbie Gold last year. Now last year, I gotta say this: last year was a weird year for all kickers. More point afters were missed across the league than any other time in the NFL. So it wasn't just that Santos missed 5. Other guys who normally never miss anything were missing them too. But Gold still can get you for distance. He still is Mr. Reliable. I mean, he could probably kick for 5-6 years easy if he wants to. And kickers can.
We're not going to cut him now because it's a 1.4 dead cap. If they wait until after June,
right.
It's $500K.
And then what's his? And then so we saved like 3.5 mil. So you sign Robbie for 2. Now you're plus 1.5. Great, Mike. Now I got to spend 16.5.
We could give him the full amount. What if he lost?
Look at Mike is making now. Now we had to spend 15. Now under Mike's plan, we got to spend 16.5. Thanks, Mike.
Well, I'm just saying they're not going to lowball him. He's literally
no.
He's got the points, everything in Chicago, like pretty much everything.
I'm surprised that when we talk about Robbie Gould and we talk about some of these guys, on the defensive side of the ball that are free agents, I can't believe they're still free agents after the draft this far.
Ford is still available from Kansas City. Like, there's a couple guys still out there that could really impact the team, and they're waiting for some reason. I just don't understand what the Bears are waiting on to go get something. Like, you got to spend it on something. Are they going to wait at the same time with June and get Robbie and Yannick and have good media?
I think I think that might be part of it, though, Mike. Maybe not for Robbie or for Yannick as much, but they're waiting for June 1st to see what guys get cut, who become cap casualties that we can then swoop in and get. Because there might be some other edge guys who we aren't tracking, but they're tracking as possible casualties of a cap. That maybe Chase Young becomes a cap casualty, which I doubt because he's in a rookie deal. But maybe he becomes a cap casualty and they can go get him after June 1st, or maybe another high profile or younger high profile player. Because remember, Poles likes him to be about 24, 25, 26.
Anthony, mute your TV, buddy. It's leaving feedback.
I don't have a TV on. My TV's not on.
Yeah, I don't know where the feedback is.
It's when I mute them, it goes away. That's why I thought it was a TV or something.
No, I don't have a TV on. TV, radio, anything.
Okay, my bad. I hear it.
So yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think with you, Mike. I think we might be waiting until after June 1st after some cuts.
Yep.
And really, so here's some new additions, of course, from the off season, and the draft, and some really good starting additions there. I mean, I don't know if Taylor Scott's starting, of course. Those are okay as possible, but definitely Darnell Wright. And I think we might be seeing a rookie running back, too, actually. I think Roschon might end up being the starter there.
I only say Tyler Scott because Mooney's kind of banged up. So if he goes down, he could possibly take the spot. That's the only reason why I said possible. We don't even know if Jones is going to work out because he hasn't even had any flashes. Like, something's got to happen. You're either playing or somebody's going to take your spot.
Yeah, I think two of our picks from the first through round 1 through 5 will probably start immediately, to include our first round pick and then one of the guys we picked in the second, third, or fifth. I think, second, fourth, and fifth, right? I think we're definitely get some more starters that way, but we definitely added a lot of pieces to the puzzle with free agency and the draft, didn't we? And next year, I think we've got
just unmute yourself. I don't know why you got bad feedback. I'm not sure what it is. It literally sounds like a TV or something. Can you hear it, Ken?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Because when I mute him, it literally
now it's gone.
So I'm not sure. But just when you're ready to talk, Anthony, unmute yourself.
Yeah, we're getting I can hear it, Anthony. We are definitely getting some a lot of, and next year I think we have 8 draft picks or so. We're gonna have two in the first round. We got $100 million minus whatever we spend on extensions this year to spend. I mean, Anthony, this is when you can unclick your mute. Anthony, I think we got a lot of value for this year, and we're gonna be getting a lot more next year.
I think so also, but I also think by Poles doing his due diligence, June 1st is the first day to look at, and then, but since they changed the format, now there's only one cut down.
Yeah,
there's only one cut down. So I believe that Poles is not done yet. He's like you said, he's looking at people. He's looking at people. It's people he wants, and he's gonna get them. So
Anthony, let me ask you this first, though, because you brought it up, and this way, I'll have to unmute again. Do you think that all the teams are going to wait for that final cut, or do you think that we'll get some cuts before the final cut?
I think that Poles is waiting on that final cut, man. Honestly, I think he's waiting on that final cut, and then he knows who's going to get cut. He knows, man. I mean, with that scout team that he has now, and then his partner, I forgot the guy's name. But they're going places like we said earlier. They're going to schools that we never even heard of, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they're finding those Scottie Pippins out there.
He didn't draft that DN, so he knows, man. I think he's gonna wait for the final cut. I don't think he's gonna wait till June 1st and sign someone. He's gonna wait for the final cut, and I'll mute it from here.
Hey, Mike, do you think that? I mean, I get what we're saying. Polls might wait till the final cut to cut everyone, but do you think teams across the NFL with this new rule are going to wait and just do a mass cut, or do you think we'll see some trickles?
I think a little trickles, but I think there's still going to be players out there like possible Yannick and Ford for that last minute thing. Because, like you said, it's only a one cut deal, like bam. So it does. In polls, you got to remember his specialty is draft and looking for people on the outside. That's what his specialty is.
Yeah.
And don't think he's letting his little boys and people that he gets paid to do it. He's sitting there with them, doing it with them. He's got to say so in it 100% for sure. I trust him for sure. He's been doing a lot of changes in Chicago, which is good changes in Chicago, better for the organization.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we're waiting for post June 1st for some free agent signings. And when it comes to this new rule, it's interesting because a week before the season starts now, rosters are going to go from 92 to 55 or 75 to 55. I mean, you're going to see like 30 guys get cut like on every team, and then it's going to be absolutely crazy to see what's getting, because you already used to get it on that final cut. You'd always get a bunch of surprise cuts. You get a bunch of guys who get signed, and now you've got every team's dropping 20 or 30 guys, and it's going to be insane for GMs to keep up with it all because the surprise cuts are going to get a little more buried in some degree. It's going to be insane to add pieces at that point, and then I think part of it is you're snowballing that in order because you want to hey, I want Anthony on my practice squad, but under the old way, I would cut and pray. Now I can cut and bury him amongst 20 other cuts, and then really no one sees them. So now I'm going to get my guy on my practice squad I really want, right, to clear waivers. So I think that's going to be interesting. I agree with both your takes to a certain degree. Both great takes. It's going to be an interesting preseason. Hopefully, we're not watching the Bears and Hard Knocks. Let's hope it's the Jets.
I personally think the Jets are going to get it. And what's crazy is they usually announce it already. It's already usually announced and everything. Like, what's the holdup? Just announce it already. It's the Jets.
Yeah, it's a weird off season with.
I'm sorry. That's what makes me think it's going to be the Jets because they didn't announce it yet. That's what makes me believe it's going to be the Jets.
Yeah, I mean, the way this offseason's been, we had a couple delays with the scheduling. To almost got delayed, but they figured it out quick enough on the Bears going overseas, the Hard Knocks. This has not been a normal offseason, and a lot of that's because of Aaron Rodgers. It's also because Tom Brady retired. That's if you look at the shocks of it this year, Brady retires, Aaron Rodgers gets moved, and more quarterbacks probably moved in this offseason than we'd seen in a long time. So this was a very non-traditional year. Running backs were devalued. So were tight ends. Financially speaking, we didn't have that problem in Chicago because we let Montgomery walk, and we signed a guy relatively decent price and got a good one in the draft. But you saw certain things that we weren't used to. Tight ends, money-wise, got very much devalued this year. And running backs, no one got offered a contract that wasn't called a franchise tag. So it's really going to be really interesting to see how they handled the Hard Knocks, how they handled the biggest slate of European games, because this year we got 3 in London, 1 in Frankfurt, and 1 in Mexico City. 5. And this is the second year we've had 5. So the NFL is definitely doing a lot of things. It's going to be interesting to see. I think the Bears have done well this offseason. Now we get to look forward to camp starting. But before we finish out tonight, so we're almost about to come up on it, let's talk about Bears minicamp. I just saw a couple articles. I talked about Sewell, and I talked about the story with with Roshan. Anthony, have you heard anything? Do you have any thoughts on what coming out of rookie camp?
Yeah, I heard that that kid that undrafted free agent from Houston. I heard he was lighting it up. He was lighting it up. That's why they cut 3 players, but they kept him and 2 other players. But the kid, the DN from Houston, they said he was lighting it up, man. They said he was.
Do we know about that kid from Europe? Do we know about the kid we got from Europe, how he did?
I haven't got a chance to look at him myself. I haven't. Usually I look on film on most of them. I heard that he's been doing real good in camp. I haven't seen nothing on him. I've been busy, but I will in the next couple days.
He's going to be a fun story to watch. He makes because if you look at the picture of him, you're like, okay, the guy's built, right? The guy's built like an NFL player. He was not. He was a basketball player converted to football, and then he converted to the defensive side. He's only been playing for a couple of years. He was found through the Commanders that have it was another NFL franchise, might have been Philly or the Commanders, an East Coast team. They have a partnership overseas where they find, train. He's actually been to the States on an NFL roster last season for a bit. Didn't work out, sent him back, continued training as part of this mentorship program, and then the Bears signed him this year. So he's intriguing to me. I always like stories like that and players like that. So I'm gonna have to look and keep an eye out. He might be the next Jack Sanborn. Excuse me.
Well, there's a lot of people at camp. A lot of people.
Yeah. It's amazing, right? You think, okay, they drafted 10 guys. There's rookie camp. There's 50 guys there. You're like, what the hell?
I want you guys to pay attention to this kid from Houston, man. This DN. Undrafted free agent. Again, I want you guys to pay attention, and maybe when we come on next week, we'll have a little bit more information on him.
Say we probably will do one next week, possibly, because the schedule comes out tomorrow, which I can't wait. Then we'll know exactly the dates and everything, and maybe I can figure out what game I'm going to. I'm probably going to 2, one in Chicago, and I'll probably go with Bill the Packer fan to Lambeau. Hopefully when they play the Bears, so that way Love can.
It better be.
But we'll see. But I don't know if you guys heard about it. I know you have, Ken, but they actually put in the paperwork to break down for construction in Arlington Heights.
Yep.
I heard that. And man, I was jumping for joy.
And the Cook County tax assessor, hold on, Anthony, real quick. And you know what the Cook County tax assessor did? Straight away, they upped the tax to $35 million a year based on future potential. So Cook County, I think it's almost triple the amount of tax on the property now.
You got to unmute yourself, Sheet.
You know what? I can't wait. I just hope I'm still around. You know what I mean? Because I'm in the south suburbs, right? It's I-57-94 to Lakeshore Drive. Arlington Heights, I can take 294, get there like that. Don't have to deal with all that traffic, walking over bridges and parking downtown and none of that, man. I can't wait. I can't wait.
See, you got to know the right people because I don't know if you know Billy Defense Flores and them, the defense guys. They actually tailgate down there. When I go to the game, I go tailgate with them, and you pay a price to park in their special lot, and we park there and we tailgate before the game, and it's only like a 15 to 20 minute walk to get to Soldier Field, so it's not bad.
You talking about down there, 22nd Street, down there on 22nd Street?
Exactly which one it is because I'm not familiar 100% with downtown Chicago.
Yeah, right on the corner. Yeah,
right there. Like it is not far at all, and parking is it's a lot that they rent.
If Cole Kmet's still on the roster when it's done, he can walk to work because he lives in Arlington Heights. Which, for those who don't know, my dad used to be the postmaster of Arlington Heights years and years and years ago. That's like a whole other lifetime. That's like 30-some years ago. But still, I'm excited for that. I think a lot of Bears fans are. The city of Chicago obviously is not. The new mayor-elect still thinks he can sway the Bears to stay. But I'm sorry. This is good for the franchise to move out of the city proper. It's good. It's better for the franchise. I think in a way, the only people who get hurt by this is the actual city of Chicago, and even then, yes, you're going to take a financial hit, but they're still going to be making money off the Bears because people are still going to fly through a hair. They're still going to stay in the city. They're still going to come visit the city. They're losing, in effect, 8 regular season home games a year, possible playoff, 1 or 2 possible preseason. Their loss really is it's significant, but it's not going to sink the city, right? So I mean, I get the county's losing no money.
Well, the city don't want them to leave, you know what I mean? Because it brings them a lot. Their hands in the cookie jar too. They don't want to bring their hand out of the cookie jar. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
their hands coming out the cookie jar sooner or later. You know what I mean?
Well, and look, if the Chicago Park District would have, look at how many years has Soldier Field been the worst playing surface in the league? How many years has Soldier Field been the place that NFL keeps saying, you need to fix this, you need to fix that? We're the oldest franchise in the league, have one of the smallest stadiums. The Park District doesn't want to do anything for field conditions. I don't blame them for leaving.
I agree.
Not one bit.
That
And
field,
now,
that
actually,
field, I'm sorry. That field has
No,
been
go ahead.
bad since I watched Sweetness and
Well,
Matt Suey. And Matt
yeah, but that
Suey.
was turf.
That field has been that
That,
bad.
that was actual turf back then.
Yeah, hey, but far as that Arlington Heights thing, the city won't lose any money, man. They'll gain more money because Arlington Heights won't have all those hotels and those downtown venues. People are gonna go to Arlington Heights to see the Bears, but they're gonna be staying in the city and they're gonna take that train to Arlington Heights. So the city won't lose.
Well, you
This is a
got
No,
win-win.
Anthony, you're wrong and you're right at the same time. They're going to lose money on the games because they're not making money off the beer sale, the food sales, the souvenir sales. However, here's where the city stands to make a lot more money, especially if we do a dome. We can now get WrestleMania in Chicago. We don't have a venue in Chicago for the WWE WrestleMania, which is a massive draw. They only do football stadiums. Now, Chicago can host events like that. They can host other big concerts stuff in the off season, especially that will draw money into not only the Bears coffers. Because remember, WWE will do WrestleMania at whatever our stadium name is, right? At the Halas Stadium. Okay, great. The Bears make the money from that. The county's going to make their money. The city, the local communities, and the city and the city of Arlington Heights are going to make money. Chicago is going to make money because all the people flying in, the hotels, the downtown entertainment, like you said, and everything else. They're going to make more money by losing Bears games to Arlington Heights.
Well, don't be surprised if they actually go like, I don't know if you ever been to Lambeau Field, but they got hotels and stuff like blocks away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They actually have like fields, games, you name the game, they have it right there. Don't be surprised if they don't bring something like that to them.
Oh, yeah.
Because who wants to travel to a different city, even if
Well,
it's
they did say it's going to be a family park. They did say it's going to be a family environment. But understand this also, though. Nobody mentioned the Super Bowl.
I did.
Nobody mentioned the Bears hosting a Super Bowl. Chicago,
we will.
Hosting a Super Bowl.
Yeah, they will.
If they build it top 3 for capacity, that's my opinion. Top 3, if not the top 1, because they're spending.
And look, here's how the NFL does it. You build a new stadium, you get a Super Bowl within 2 to 3 years. So we'll definitely host Super Bowl, which then the city of Chicago doesn't make money on the game itself, but that's a week-long event. People are going to be in the city, on Lakeshore Drive, over on Rush Street in the bars, going to Portillo's, going to Gino's East, going to all those hot spots in the city, doing water tower plays. The city, they don't think. They're actually making more money with the Bears in Arlington Heights. And now they don't have to worry about maintaining Soldier Field to NFL standards. They can just maintain it to MLS standards for the Chicago Fire. Because the Fire play there now. They left Toyota Park, right? Now they play at Soldier Field. That can become a soccer-only.
Did we lose Ken?
Yeah, we did.
We'll give him a couple minutes to come back on. But yeah, if you're still watching, what's up, bud? Just talking about Bears like we did the Lions.
There he is. There he is.
You back?
Sorry about that popped off, but the fish thought you like I said, the Bears, the city of Chicago make a ton more money by the Bears playing in Arlington Heights than they ever would. And now Soldier Field becomes a soccer only stadium for the Fire. It's gonna be cheaper to maintain. They don't have to do as much switching, and they can still do special events and concerts there. So it's a better deal for the city of Chicago actually that the team is in Arlington Heights.
Agreed.
So we got that, Mike. I think we about hit everything for what's going on in Bears Nation, haven't we?
Yeah, I hit everything as far as like. So I asked you if we had a thing happen today. I didn't see nothing happen today, but I worked like 13 hours, so I didn't get to catch any new signings. If anything, it was just about camp.
Well, hey, I mean, I guess we're up on it. Saw some comments. Thank you for your comments in the show. We're going to be back next week to talk about the schedule. Then we might take a small hiatus unless maybe after June 1st, after some big signings, we might come to a day. And then we'll take a little bit of a break as we all prepare to get into preseason. But like us, follow Mike the Bear Fan on Facebook, Halas Hall Report on Facebook, what are we on? Facebook, YouTube. Give us some likes and some follows, spread the gospel, spread the word. During the season, if you don't know, our normal shows will be at this same bat time, this same bat channel. However, on game day, we will go a half hour before, on Sundays, a half hour before the noon kickoff. So 11:30 Central, we'll do a pre-game kickoff show. Even if we have the late game, we still do it before the early game. We'll do that from about 11:30 till noon. And then we will transition at noon over to our game casts, which are a little different, but you'll still be able to find us through Facebook to watch. And we did it last year. Mike, CJ, myself, a couple other people came through. We'll have the game. We'll be your commentators for reasons we'll explain later. But we have a lot of fun, a lot of comments. I know we get people watching from as far as Italy. We had them in Italy, Germany, Mexico. I did one from a cruise ship in Mexico. We have a lot of fun with it. We look forward to seeing you.
Say we're live on holidays and everything. I don't think we've missed one holiday. If it's Thanksgiving, we play, we're live. If it's Christmas,
we're live.
We're live. May not.
And for everyone,
we're live.
And for everyone that came over to Main 635 for the draft and watched us I was on for like 18 plus hours. Thank you for your support. That was maddening for us to do. We actually had a lot of fun, enjoyed the comments. So we enjoy your comments and your posts. Please become a part of our community. If you want to, make some comments about what we're saying, definitely get them the show, and Mike will try to get them up there so we can address them. Today we were a little bit light. We appreciate the bear downs. We appreciate the good vibes. But we're about done here. So until next Wednesday, be safe. And take care of one another. To quote the great Jerry Springer, who just passed away, we hope to see you soon. Bear down. See you next week.
Bear down. Thanks, everyone, for watching.
He was able to read the defense. He was able to call that little small audible.
His throwing is much improved over the season.
I'm over here in the south side of Chicago, 35th and Damon, doing my veterans tailgate today, baby. This is all about the veterans.
Defensive line's got to get better.
We got a good tight end. That's all you got to do is play to the kid's strength.
Bears 24-21.
Offense look good.
Glad for everybody to make it. Bear down, and hopefully I'll see everybody.